Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss about the theory behind the limit state method. So before going into in depth of the limit state method, we need to understand what are the different assumptions that we make for designing any structure using limit state method. The design assumptions we can find in the IS 456 2000 in the clause number 38. The first assumption that is given here, you can see plane section normal to the axis remain plane after bending. Suppose this is the 3D view of the section. So this section is plane section. Then after bending, what will happen? This plane will shift to somewhere here and this plane will come to here, something like this. Okay, and as per the first assumption, plane section normal to the axis, the plane section which is normal to the axis, this is the axis over here, this is a normal plane, normal to the axis, remain plane after bending. So if this is plane before bending, it will remain plane after bending. There will be no deformation. This assumption is because generally we can find some deformation after bending, that is due to shear. But in our assumption, we do not consider the shear effect. That is why we are assuming here that plane section before bending remains plane after bending. So let's go to the next assumption. The maximum strain in concrete at the outermost compression fiber is taken as 0.0035 in bending. That means if you are deflecting a particular beam, in that case this is the compression fiber, this is the tension fiber. In that case, this is the strain diagram, right? At the top we have compression, at the bottom we have tension. This is a strain diagram because here there will be maximum strain, then we have the neutral axis where strain will be 0, and at the bottom there will be strain in the opposite, that is tensile strain at the bottom and compressive strain at the top. And this particular point says that the strain in the compression fiber is taken as, the maximum value is taken as 0.0035. okay, you should remember this value, that is 0.0035. this is very important. Then the next clause is the relationship between the compressive stress distribution in concrete and the strain in concrete may be assumed to be rectangular, trapezoid, parabola or any other shape which results in prediction of strength in substantial agreement with the results of test. An acceptable stress strain curve is given in the figure 21. For design purpose, the compressive strength of concrete in the structure shall be assumed to be 0.67 times the characteristic strength. The partial safety factor gamma m is equal to 1.5 shall be applied in addition to this. Also, there is a small note here. For stress strain curve in figure 21, the design stress block parameter are as follows. The area of the stress block 0.36 FCK/XU, depth of the center of the compressive force is equal to 0.42 XU from the extreme fiber in compression, where FCK is the characteristic compressive strength of concrete and XU is the depth of the neutral axis. Now, let's try to see what this particular clause mean for us. Okay, the first thing that the clause says that the stress distribution diagram for limit state method you can assume triangular, rectangular or parabolic depending upon the test results that you have observed. But if test results are not there, a distribution diagram something like this can be assumed, and this is the shape of this distribution diagram is a combination of rectangle as well as a parabola. This top portion is rectangular and the bottom portion is parabolic. Okay, now if you remember, in working stress method we consider that the stress distribution diagram is linear, is triangular, where we have compressive force or compressive stress at the top and tensile stress at the bottom. But in limit state, as we have already discussed while we were discussing about different design philosophies, that in limit state and ultimate stress method we consider the plastic range as well, right? In working stress we consider the elastic range. This portion is considered in working stress method, but in plastic range we consider the non-linear part as well, right? So that is why here you can see that the stress diagram that you are considering for this limit state is not triangular, or it is not linear. It is not linear. The shape of the stress distribution diagram is something like a combination of a rectangle as well as a parabola. Now, how this kind of shape we can observe in a beam? Suppose you have a beam. Suppose you have a small beam over here which is simply supported and a load is there. So upon increasing the loading, the beam is going to start deflecting, as well as the stresses will change, right? Suppose initially when the load just first you apply at the beam, initially the stress will be something like linear because it is in the linear range, suppose. Then after, as you go on increasing the load, more and more, what will happen? A point will reach where the top fiber of the concrete will start to yield, right? So this is the yield strength, which is denoted by FCK, right? Sorry, it should not be, I should not use FCK. Suppose this is the yield strength. Okay, FC is the yield strength of the concrete. Now as you go on increasing again, what will happen? As this is the yield strength, beyond this it will not go beyond this. So what will happen? The fiber next to the beam will start to yield. That means the fiber next to the top fiber will now have the compressive stress of FC. Again you go on increasing the load P, again the fiber below it will go and come to the value of FC. You again increase the P, again the fiber below it will reach the value of FC, and this is how the stresses will go on increasing up to this point when the fiber at the neutral axis will also reach to the yield strength of FC, that is the yield strength of concrete. At this point of time, the whole section above the neutral axis is under the maximum stress or at the yielding stress. Beyond this, if you increase the load, you will see that this beam will crack or it will fail, forming a hinge. You will get to know how the beam fails, forming plastic hinges, in the next semester or in the next courses. But for now you need to understand that as you go on increasing the load, initially it will be a straight line, a straight triangular. Then as you go on increasing, at certain point of time the top fiber will reach the value of the yield strength of the concrete, and if you increase more, then the fiber below it will reach the FC value, and finally the stress distribution diagram will be something look like a rectangular, completely rectangular. Okay, this is the maximum load that the beam can take before failing, forming a plastic hinge. Now we are not going to consider up to this load. This, if to get this condition, the load should be very high. This should be very high, but we are not going to consider up to this value. We are going to consider what? That suppose initially the maximum load, that is we are going to consider for the design, when say suppose up to certain depth we have all the fibers are at the yield value of the concrete, yield stress of concrete. Up to certain depth of the section, all these fibers are at the yield value of the concrete, and the remaining fibers having stresses less than the yield value, showing a parabolic distribution of stress. Okay, so this kind of stress distribution diagram we are going to use for limit state method of design. Here you can see that this is not the ultimate strength design. In ultimate strength design we consider this kind of stress distribution diagram where all the fibers above the neutral axis are in yield strength, and in working stress we consider a triangular distribution where only the top fiber will be at say yield value, the rest of the fibers are not experiencing the yield stress of the concrete. But as we have already studied that limit state method is in between working stress and ultimate state method, so we are considering this kind of stress diagram where up to certain depth of the section all the fibers are experiencing ultimate strength or the yield strength of the concrete, and remaining fibers experiencing stresses below the yield value of the concrete. Okay, now you can see that here you can see this is the rectangular portion which is FCK value, characteristic strength, and the remaining portion it was showing a parabolic distribution. Okay, so this is what that particular assumption, that particular clause means. This particular clause is very important. This particular clause also tells you that what is the area of the section. The whole limit state design actually revolves around this particular design. Now, as we have already discussed in crack section, that in a crack section we do not consider the concrete below the neutral axis, right? If you remember, we have only considered the transform section of the steel, or we only assume that only steel is present below the tension. The same assumption will be here, because in limit state method we do not consider the concrete below the neutral axis, because we know that the concrete below the neutral axis is definitely going to crack under limit state method. So only steel is present below the neutral axis and concrete is present at the above the neutral axis. So your stress distribution diagram will look like something like this, where this is the stress distribution diagram for concrete and only a arrow mark for a steel, because steel is considered a very small location. So only arrow mark for the force or the stress in steel, and this is a distribution in concrete. Now from this diagram actually we can find out everything, all the equations that we need for designing of a structure using limit state method can be find out from this particular diagram. So this diagram is very important. Now let's look into how we can find out different parameters for design using this particular diagram. This particular clause also says that the design strength, okay, this one, this is assumed that the compressive strength of concrete is 0.67 times of the characteristic strength. So the compressive strength, that is the characteristic compressive strength of concrete, is FCK. We already know that, but for this particular stress diagram, the maximum stress, the FC value, is taken as 0.67 times of FCK. Okay, and if you are going to design it, if you are going to design using limit state method, then you have to use the partial safety factor, so is taken as 1.5. Now you have already understood or already know that what is partial safety factor. Now let's see why for concrete of characteristic strength of FCK we do not consider the strength as FCK, but we consider a reduced value of FCK, that is 0.67 times of FCK. Why is that? So for this, actually we consider two factors. One is factor due to shape and factor due to material. Okay, so as you can see in day-to-day life, all the section that you see, concrete section like beam, a column, suppose this is a column, suppose this is a beam, right? All the section here you can see all are looks like a cylinder, right? This looks like a cylinder, not like a cube. But you know that the FCK value that we calculate is for a cube which has a specific dimension of 150 into 150 into 150 cube, right? This is the specific dimension which is a cube, but it doesn't resemble the shape of the actual member. And experimentally it has been found that there is a difference of strength when you consider the shape. Suppose the same concrete, you are making a cube and you are making a cylinder. The strength you will get at cylinder and at the cube is not same with the strength at the cylinder. There is a difference. Suppose if this is FCK and this is FC, then it has been found that FC is actually less than FCK by 0.8 times. If you multiply the FCK value is 0.8, you get the strength of a cylinder in the form of if its shape is cylindrical. Okay, so this is the safe factor. So safe factor is 0.8 that we have to consider, as well as there will be material anomalies of the section, because the concrete is never a uniform material. So another factor of 0.85 is assumed. So if you multiply 0.8 and 0.85, you generally get 0.68 of FCK. That means that is the stress in concrete is 0.8 into 0.85 into FCK. Okay, which gives you 0.68 FCK. And in this and from that value, actually the code has assumed this value as 0.67 FCK. That is why it is mentioned that the stress or the strength in concrete is considered as 0.67 FCK. Okay, understood? So this is 0.6, that is why it is 0.67 FCK. And as you are designing using limit state method, so you must have to use this partial safety factors, and the partial safety factor for concrete is considered as 1.5. That means 0.67 divided by 1.5 FCK. This is what we are going to take for our design, and which is found to be 0.67 divided by 1.5 is 0.446 FCK. Okay, this is 0.446 FCK. So this is the actual stress that we are going to consider in our design. This is 0.446 FCK. FCK is the characteristic compressive strength. Okay, so remember this value. This value is very important. Remember that strain, what is the maximum strain in concrete, that is 0.0035. this is also important. We will see how in most of the cases we will be using these values. Now also in the next class we will discuss the clause again, but before that let's see the next clause. The tensile strength of concrete is ignored. I have already told you that the stress distribution diagram is something like this. We do not consider the concrete below the neutral axis. So it is mentioned in the point D that tensile strength of the concrete is ignored. That means no concrete is assumed below the neutral axis. The stress in the reinforcement are derived from the representative stress strain curve for the type of steel used. Typical curves are given in figure 23. The design purpose, the partial safety factor gamma m is equal to 1.15 shall be applied. So generally you have to find out the stress strain graph. Actually this is given to you. So if the characteristic strength of steel is given by Fy, then if you're considering the partial safety factor of 1.15, it comes out to 0.869, which is, if you round up, it gives you 0.87 Fy. So generally the steel strength that we are going to assume for design, FST, is 0.87 Fy. Remember this value. This values is 0.1.15 for steel partial safety factor, and partial safety factor for concrete is 1.5. Remember these two values. This is very important. So FST value will be 0.87 Fy and FC is equal to 0.446 FCK. This is very important, very important. Now let's look into in depth of the stress distribution diagram of our section. So I have already told you that the stress distribution diagram is the main thing of the limit state method. Here let us consider a section. This is a beam section having certain numbers of bars at the bottom. So this is the concrete. Suppose the neutral axis is this one for the section, suppose. Then the depth of the neutral axis from the top fiber of the concrete is given by XU. Okay, what is XU? XU is the depth of the neutral axis. Now as you can see that the stress distribution diagram for a section beam's flexile member is considered as a top portion is rectangular and the bottom portion is parabolic. Okay, suppose, and it is assumed that the rectangular portion value is 3/7. Actually we can find out the why this value is 3/7 XU and why this 4/7 XU. We will see that. Okay, and we have already looked into that the stress at the top fiber is 0.446 FCK and this is the tension. Now what is CR and what is CP? Suppose if I want to find out what is the area of this particular section, in the code already the area is given, so let's try to find out how they have come up to that particular equation or particular value. So as we can see that the top portion is rectangular, right, and bottom portion is triangular. So we will try to find out the area, because area in turn is going to give you the force for that particular stress diagram, right? Area is going to give us the force. So as this is a complex area, so we'll divide it a rectangular and parabolic, and for the rectangular area, so CR is the force. Okay, or the area of this rectangular portion is CR and area of this parabolic portion is CP, and adding this two, you will get the total compressive force at the particular section. Okay, and this is the location. Suppose this is the location. The location is already given in the code as it is 0.42 XU. We'll also see how this value is we can calculate. Now remember this figure. Okay, let's see the next one. Yeah, okay. Now this is the beam section. This is only a certain truncated portion. Suppose this is the neutral axis. Just now the figure that I have shown you, this is the neutral axis over here. So this is the depth of the neutral axis, which is given by XU. Now you can see that already you have understood, or it is already mentioned, that the maximum strain in concrete is 0.0035. This is the limit state of collapse. See, we are designing using limit state method. That means we are limiting the values up to certain values. Okay, we are limiting the behavior of the structure at certain values. So we have limit state of collapse and limit state of serviceability. In limit state of collapse, that means what? If it is not collapsing, that means that crack is not developing. Or limit state of collapse means the structure should not collapse. There should not be any prominent crack, right? So in the clause, we have, in the previous assumption that we have seen, that the maximum compressive strain in concrete should be 0.0035. That means if the strain increase beyond this value, then we will think that the particular structure has failed. If the compressive strain increase this particular value, then it is going to fail. So this is actually limit state for the concrete. It is a limiting value for concrete. This strain is the limiting value. I have already discussed in previous classes that working stress method is a stress based design, but the limit state is a strain based design. Why strain based design? Because we are here the governing factor is strain, because here the strain in concrete should not be more than this value. This is our criteria. So the criteria of first criteria that we have received, that the strain in concrete at the compression fiber should not be less or should not be more than 0.0035. Also, this has been assumed that up to a depth of where the strain is 0.002, you have a rectangular distribution of stress. That means up to a distance, up to a depth of the section where strain becomes 0.002, all the fibers above this location, where at this location strain is 0.002, and all the fibers above this location, here all the stress values are same, that is 0.447 FCK. Above the 0.002 point, above this strain point, this is a strain diagram, above this strain value, all the fibers having a equal stress of 0.447 FCK. Okay, and below that it is just reducing parabolically. Now, as these two are our criteria, 0.0035 and 0.002, from this strain diagram we can find out from similar triangle that this portion is 3 by 7 XU and this portion is from here to here is 4 by 7 XU. Okay, you just do that. 0.0035 divided by XU equal to 0.002 divided by, suppose this is let me show you how how you can take the similar triangle. Suppose we do not know this value. Suppose this value is suppose x. We want to find out what is x. In that case, just do the similar triangle concept. 0.0035 divided by XU from this point is equal to 0.002 divided by XU minus x. This is x. Then you can find the value of x, right, in terms of XU. So you will get 3 by 7 XU, and after that you can find out the other half, that will be 4 by 7 XU. So like that these values can be calculated. Now, as we have got that the depth of the rectangular portion as 3 by 7 XU and depth of the parabolic section as 4 by 7 XU. Now we can find out the area and find out the value of C1 and C2, or what we have seen here, CR or CP. The CR or CP, or you can say the C1 and C2 values we can find out. C1 and C2 values we can find out. Okay, so let's see the calculation, how to find out. So as we have already know that the area of a stress distribution diagram will give you the force. So if I want to find out the C1, this will be the area of this rectangle, and if I want to find out the area of or value of the C2, then the area of the parabola. That is what we want to find out. So what will be the area of the rectangle? The depth is 3 by 7 XU, the top fiber is 0.447 FCK, so that will give you the area into B, because previously also we have discussed that the stress distribution diagram is not a 2D thing, it's a 3D value. Okay, it's a 3D value, so B should be multiplied. So 4 by 7 XU plus 0.446 FCK into B. So this will give you the C1 or CR value. Okay, and let's find out what is the depth of this, or where this particular force is going to act. That means suppose this is a C1, we have to find out the area, and where this particular C1 is going to act. As this is a rectangle, it is going to act at the center of this 3 by 7 XU, right, half of 3 by 7 XU. That will be the depth of the force C1 from the top fiber. So it will be 3 by 7 XU into 0.5. Okay, now what is the area of the parabola? So you already probably know that this is a 2/3 of the rectangular area. The area of a parabola is 2/3 of the rectangular area. 2/3 of the rectangular area. So what is the area of that rectangle? It is 4 by 7 XU. It is the depth into the top, means the width is 0.446 FCK into 2/3, that becomes the area of the parabola, and if you multiply B, it becomes the volume of the parabola and gives you the value of CP or C2, and this value is this one. And what is the value of the, and where this particular force is going to act? So the, for parabola, the center of the centroid of parabola is the distance. This distance is basically 3 by 7 XU. Okay, this distance is so this depth is basically, if this is x, if this is x, then this value is 3 by 8 x. Okay, but here this is not x, this is 4 by 7 x u, so it will be 3 by 8 into 4 by 7 x u. So you can see here the this that means we need to find out what is the distance of this force from this location. So this will be the 3 by 7 XU plus this one, and what will be this? This is 3 by 8 into 4 by 7 XU, right? This portion is 3 by 8, 4 by 7 XU, and this portion is 3 by 7 XU. So it is 3 by 7 XU plus 3 by 8 into 4 by 7 XU, it will give you 9 by 14 XU. Okay, so this is the depth of this force, that is C2 from the top fiber, and also we have already found out what is the depth of C1 from the top fiber, that is also we have found out. Now let's try to see what is the total compressive force. In that case, just add the C1 or C2 or CR plus CP, which is going to give you 0.361. So or you can write 0.36 FCK, right? This is the value, and this is a 0.36 FCK BXU, so which is already given in your code, 0.36 FCK BXU. This is the force or the total volume of the section. Okay, if B is not there, then it will be area of the section. When B multiply, it becomes volume of the section, volume of the stress diagram, and this is also the force, the compressive force. And what is the depth and where this particular compressive force will act, where this resultant will act? You can find out the centroid by using CR into YCR plus CP into YCP by C, and this will give you 0.42 XU. Okay, which is also given in your code in the assumption. Just let's look into the assumption again. Here you can see 0.42 XU and 0.36 FCK XU. This is the area. If you want to find out the volume or total force, you have to multiply with B over here, and this is the depth of the force. So these two equations are very, very important. This one and this one. C is equal to 0.36 FCK BXU, Y is equal to 0.42 XU. This is very, very important. Okay, now let's dig into some other things. Now as we have already looked into all the clauses, all the assumptions, there are some also we have discussed that the Peirce safety factor for steel is considered as 1.15. Now let's dig into some other calculations that we can do from the stress block, okay, which will be important from design perspective. Now the thing is, what is the maximum depth or limiting depth of the neutral axis? So let's try to find out that. Suppose you have any section, okay, having certain value of FCK, having certain value of steel, having grade of, say, suppose Fy. Now what is the maximum depth or the limiting value of the depth of the neutral axis that you want to find out? Okay, so it has been mentioned in our in the clauses that the limiting value of strain in concrete is 0.0035. This is the limiting value. You can never go beyond this particular strain, and sorry, and the strain in steel is 0.002 plus 0.87 Fy by Es. This is the limiting value of strain in steel. 0.002 plus 0.87 Fy by Es. Es is the Young's modulus of elasticity of steel. Fy is the grade of steel or the characteristic strength of the steel, and 0.87 because of the partial safety factor 0.002, that is actually the strain at the particular location. So this is the strain in the steel. Okay, this is the limiting value. So we are going to consider this limiting value to find out what should be the maximum depth or limiting depth of neutral axis. That means what is the maximum depth of neutral axis that we can get for any design section. So for that, as from the we look into the strain distribution diagram, where at the top we have 0.0035x, and at the steel we have 0.002 plus 0.87 Fy by Es. Okay, this is the strain in the steel, this is the strain at the maximum limiting strain at the concrete. And as this is everything we are going to consider as limiting, so we suppose we replace the xu as xu limit. So this is the xu limit as a maximum limiting value. That means beyond this length or beyond this depth, the depth of neutral axis cannot fall. Okay, in a balance section. So we will discuss what is balance section. It might because the neutral axis depth can go below this, but we will see, because this everything is actually for balance section. We will see what is balance section. Sorry, we will see what is balance section. Balance section. So first of all, let's see for this for a balance section how to find out the limiting depth of the neutral axis. So if you consider the similar triangle concept from here, from this diagram, this is 0.87 Fy by Es. So 0.0035 by xu limit is equal to 0.002 plus 0.87 Fy by Es by d minus xu. D is the effective depth. We have already discussed about this. Xu d minus xu limit. This should be limit here. Xu limit. Okay. And if we can rewrite this particular expression as this one, xu limit by d minus xu limit is equal to 0.0035 by 0.002 plus 0.87 Fy by Es. Again, from this we can rewrite as xu limit by d as 0.0035 by 0.0055 plus 0.87 Fy by Es. So this equation is very important. Here you can see that the limiting depth or the limiting depth of the neutral axis or this particular ratio is a factor of Fy, that is grade of steel. Grade of steel. It doesn't depend upon the dimension of the concrete or the grade of the concrete. Whether your section is wide, it's a narrow, it doesn't depend upon that. Whether your concrete strength has a characteristic strength of M20, M30, M45, it doesn't depend upon that. It only depends on the grade of the steel. So for a particular grade of concrete, you can find out what is the limiting depth of the neutral axis. You can find out. Okay, so if you put the values of Fy, because Es value is constant, which is 2 into 10 to the power 5 Newton per mm square. So if you put the value of Fy for different value of Fy, you can find out what are the different limiting values or limiting depth of the neutral axis. Okay, so let's see here. Suppose Fy is 250 Newton per mm square, Es value is this one, then xu limit value can be find out to be 0.531. It is 0.531. Okay, and if it is suppose Fy is 415 grade, Fe 415, then xu value is 0.47. So for Fe250, this XU limit by D ratio is 0.53, and for Fe415 it is 47, and for Fe500 it is 0.46. It is 0.456. Okay, so basically 46. So this is already given to you in a note in the IS456. You can see over here that the limiting values of depth of the neutral axis for different grade of steel based on the assumption 38.1 are as follows. For 250 it is 0.53, for 415 it is 0.48, and for 500 it is 0.46. This is important. For different grade of steel, what are the different values of XU by D? These values you should remember. Remember these values. For Fe250 it is 0.53, for 415 it is 0.48, for 500 it is 0.4. You can see as the grade of the steel is increasing downward, as this is increasing, the XU by D value is decreasing. As this value is increasing, these values are decreasing in the downward. So for maximum value for 250 which is 0.53, for 415 it is 0.48, for 500 it is 0.46. Okay, and this is the stress strain graph for steel, which is ES value is already given, which is this graph is also taken from IS456, and this is the FY is the characteristic strength. This is after considering the design or partial safety factor of 1.15. Okay, so this code you should look into your code and go through these particular clauses once again. Now let's see how to find out the depth of the neutral axis. If say one problem is given to you and how to find out the depth of the neutral axis. So for any section, whether it's a balanced section or unbalanced section, always the C should be equal to T, that is compressive force should be equal to the tensile force. Okay, compressive force should be equal to tensile force. And what is the compressive force value? We have already calculated 0.36 FCK B XU is the total compressive force. And what is the tensile force? The strength of concrete or the stress in concrete is 0.87 Fy, right, into AST. So from this you can find out what is the value of XU. XU is 0.87 Fy AST divided by 0.36 FCK B XU. Sorry, XU is not there, B. So this is the equation. XU is this one. You can find this equation in Annex Z of IS 456. Already these equations are given to you, but you need to know how these equations has been derived, because this builds your concept, and this concept will be very important while you will be appearing for GATE. Okay, so this is how you find out the depth of the neutral axis. Let's go to the next. Now, how to find out the ultimate strength or the ultimate moment of resistance? Because see, when you have a flexile member, the beam is bending, suppose, because of application of moment, some moment is being applied, then to be in equilibrium, because when moment will be applied, some stresses will develop, right? Some stresses will be developed, so some compressive force, some tensile force will be there. This is the moment. So some resisting moment is also going to develop, okay, which will counteract this moment, applied moment. Okay, so and this resistive moment is the strength. This is the strength of the section, this resisting moment which is developed because of the application of moment to a member. This particular moment which is developed inside the section is called a resisting moment, and this resisting moment is nothing but the strength of the section. So let's find out what is the ultimate moment of resistance. That means what is the ultimate strength the section has. This is the ultimate moment of resistance, or the ultimate strength, that is the maximum strength the section has. So if you want to find out the maximum moment of resistance, you just go into the stress strain diagram. You can see that this is the diagram, right? So this is the compressive force, which is nothing but 0.36 FCK BXU, and this is the tensile force, which is 0.87 FY AST, right? And this is the lever arm, right? So we know that this distance is how much? 0.42 XU, and the depth from the top fiber to this tension, this depth is D, effective depth, right? So if so, what is the lever arm here? It will be D minus 0.42 XU. Lever arm is D minus 0.42 XU. So what is the moment of resistance? It is C into lever arm or T into lever arm. Okay, what is C here is 0.36 FCK BXU. This is the C value, and lever arm is D minus 0.48. This will give you the moment of resistance, or the strength of the concrete, strength of the section, considering compression, considering only concrete, or from the concrete point of view. If you are considering the tension or the steel, then the moment of resistance is 0.87 FYST D minus 0.42 XU. Okay, understood? Then let's find out what is the limiting moment of resistance. That means beyond this value, in any case, the moment of resistance means beyond this value you cannot apply the moment. Okay, see, this is from the design perspective. That means while designing we assume that the structure should not crack, right? The structure should not crack, and we are assuming some partial safety factors. All this, everything are there inside this. So while designing a structure, that means the structure is not built, but here you know the moment, the maximum load or the maximum moment that can come. You want to design the structure, then you go for this particular equation, because you have not built the structure yet, you are going to design. So there you can find out what is the maximum moment of resistance. That means how much moment the section will take. Now suppose you have already constructed the section. Now what is the maximum limit that beyond this you cannot apply the moment? In that case you can find out the limiting moment. There are some other uses of limiting moment also, but for simplicity you can think it of something like which is already being constructed, and you want to find out what is the maximum moment that you can apply to that particular structure. In that case, what is the XU value, that is max depth of the neutral axis, should be equal to the maximum, the limiting value of XU, that is the maximum depth of the neutral axis, right? And just this above equation, just you change the mu as mu limit. Mu limit is equal to same equation 0.36 FCKB, only the XU will change to XU limit, only to D minus 0.42 XU limit. Or this equation can be rewritten as D, if you take the D common, then XU by D 1 minus 0.42 XU by D and BD square. Okay, this equation you can write it like this. So this will give you the limiting moment. That means in no case the moment can be more than this particular value. If in certain cases you get some moment which is more than mu limit, then you have to redesign the structure. You have to redesign it. Okay, understood? Now let's go to the next. Now we will discuss about sections. So there are different types of sections. Balance section. So as we have already discussed that we are designing and considering the limit state method. That means everything is under considering limits of collapse and limits of serviceability. So what is balance section? The balance section is what? When the limiting conditions of concrete as well as steel reaches simultaneously. What is the limiting condition of concrete? The strain should be 0.0035. What is the limiting condition for steel? Is 0.002 plus 0.87 Fy by ES. When the concrete reaches 0.0035, if the steel also reaches this particular stress value, then you call the section as balanced section. Then you call the section as balanced section. Okay, that means both concrete and the steel are at the yield level at this kind of section. At when concrete is at yielding, steel is also yielding. That means if concrete is failing, the steel is also failing. Okay. Now, what is a under reinforced section? The under reinforced section is when the limiting value of steel reaches first. That means steel is at the limiting value of strain, that is 0.002 plus 0.87 Fy by ES. So it is at this particular value, but the concrete is not having the strain of 0.0035. That means limiting value of concrete is not reached, but the steel has already reached the limiting value of strain, that is 0.002 plus 0.87 Fy. That means what? The strain in concrete is under limit. That means it is okay, but the steel is yielding. Steel is failing. Steel is elongating gradually. The steel is from the elastic limit to the plastic limit, and now it is approaching towards failure. Okay, but the concrete is not in the failing zone. It is well below the limiting value for collapse. Okay, that means concrete is not it has not reached 0.0035, which is less than the value of the strain in concrete is less than 0.0035, but the steel is already reached the value, or it has the value more than 0.002 plus 0.87 Fy by ES. Okay, in that case this kind of section is called under reinforced. Why under reinforced? That means reinforced is the amount of reinforced is less. If the reinforcement amount is less, for the same value of the force, you will be having more amount of stress or more amount of strain, right? That means if you have not provided adequate amount of steel than concrete, in that case what will happen? If concrete is more and the steel is less, the strain in steel will be more, because steel is less but the load is high, the strain will be high. But in case of concrete is high and load is considerably less, so it will not entering into the failure zone. But the steel, as steel is the amount of steel is low, so it will be in the strain, it will be under yielding. Okay, so that is why it is called under reinforced. Here reinforcement is less, that is why steel is yielding, not the concrete. Okay, steel is yielding, not the concrete, because it is under reinforced, the steel value is less. So when is mentioned here, when the concrete when the steel reaches, this concrete is not there, when steel reaches its limiting value, this one, but the concrete strain does not reach the value 0.0035. You can see that in case of a under reinforced section, we might have this kind of strain diagram or the stress diagram. Here we will be having the stress or the force in tension, and it has been found that the depth of neutral axis for a under reinforced section actually found to be above the limiting depth of neutral axis. That means if suppose, let me clear it out. So suppose this is a section, balanced section, and this is the depth of XU and or XU limit, and if suppose this is the under reinforced section, okay, where stress is in tension is more, In that case, if this is the XU, suppose this is XU limit, this for balance, this is XU. So it has been found that for under-enforced section, XU is less than XU limit. Okay, if anywhere you found that the XU of this particular section is less than the XU limit that you have calculated for that particular grade of steel, in that case you know that this section is going to be an under reinforced section. Okay, clear? Then for over reinforced, when the limiting value of concrete reaches first then the steel, that means here concrete reaches the yield value 0.0035 first, but steel is not yet there. Okay, it is not yet there. In that case, the strain distribution probably is something like this. The strain in concrete will be higher and the strain in steel will be lower. In that case, if this is XU, here XU will be more than XU limit. Okay, so this is for over reinforced section, and while designing we always consider under reinforced section because we want our structure to fail by yielding of steel, not by crushing of concrete. It has been found that concrete is very brittle, right? So if concrete is brittle, if concrete fails first, then the failure of the structure will be sudden. There will be sudden failure, and which is not an ideal condition for any damaged structure, because if the failure is sudden, there will be the dwellers will not have sufficient time to evacuate the structure. In that case, uh, over reinforced section is not actually designed for. But in case of under reinforced section, as the steel yield first, so during the yielding process of steel, it is not very brittle, it is a ductile failure. So that is why we get sufficient time before failure, because it will show some cracks or some signs before failure. So under reinforced section is preferable while designing. So with this, I would like to conclude today's class. So everything that I have taught you is very important. So read this particular section again, and also look all the clauses in the IS 456 2000. Thank you.